Our role as broadcasters is to give people a reason to barrack. Kobe said, who are my options as host? I think the three that I wanted to get right in my career were probably him, Roger Federer, Oprah Winfrey. So you guys are, in my world, the best at what you do, so I want to be up to standard, up to scratch. Like 75% of the things you worry about never come to be.
Yeah.
So why would you spend any of your time worrying about them? Actually, I haven't told this story.
All right, Dosh, we've got Mr. Smooth in the house. This is
a nice one.
He is the pinnacle. When we talk about smooth broadcasters, we talk about the very best when it comes to live interviews. There's none better than this man, Hamish McLachlan. Welcome to the dos&d show.
Come on, boys.
Nice to be here.
Love it.
It's a big rap, isn't it?
I know.
We like to give a nice
Five
little
of us,
warm...
we can make a nice little round of applause. I love that. Hey, mate, thanks so much for taking the time, and it's actually nice to see you in the flesh. We obviously see you on our TV screens each and every week. We were referring just before the Anzac round of footy was great. But mate, what's the year been like being back on TV again? You obviously had a bit of time off. It's been good to see your face back on our screens.
Thank you. We, as a family, we left in December 2023. We're going to return December 2024, and everyone enjoyed it so much. We continued to stay, and the kids did another winter term. So they only got back on the Thursday of gather round. I was commentating when they got back, so that was sort of father of the year stuff, not to be greeting wife and children. But I came back late Feb. New show called Unfiltered, recorded sort of 10 episodes before opening round, and then have continued to film. Sort of found my feet pretty well in terms of hosting and calling. I came back a few times last year, opening round and round one, and then Brownlow and grand final. So I didn't feel like I was completely removed. But I think I've done enough not to get sort of rusty, and the basics remain: ask the questions and listen a lot, and it sort of works out pretty well. But I mean, you guys have, you're almost 5 years in. You guys will have got a lot better at your craft, and so hopefully, you find it pretty quickly. It's like playing golf, not so good early, but after sort of about the third round, you find a way to hit it more regularly somewhere near the middle.
Do you have, in all the elements of what you do, in terms of commentary, live events, emceeing, even the unfiltered style of show, do you have a favourite or a sweet spot that you enjoy, not necessarily what you're best at, but what you actually enjoy, you look forward to going to work for?
I love the interview. I love the chat, whether that's post-match with a mum. Saad El-Houli debuted for Essendon this year, and I was lucky enough to be there, and his family came in post. Those moments are great when you're introducing yourselves on air. I'd never met Saad, never met his parents. Suddenly there's 15 or 16 or 17 there. It's like, this is a great moment to give them. His story is incredible. And equally so when there's a first-time Brownlow medalist. That's great to be able to tell their story. I like that. So if I had a son or a daughter that was where they are, I want the person hosting to be able to tell their story well. There's a lot of people that call football a lot better than me. The hosting side, though, I really enjoy. And I'll enjoy doing an unfiltered. I did Chankwath Jath last week with Kal Shadir, following him, and doing Tom Liberatore in a week or so. I love that. Joe Watson was great. Cozzy was great. I like sitting down and doing these podcasts with you guys. So the question is, I guess, what do you love most? I like unravelling stories. CJ's story is unbelievable. So his father gets given a gun early in his life, becomes a child soldier in Sudan. South Sudan and North Sudan suddenly are in civil war. He then says to his wife, once he's become a pastor, we need to get out of here. Our children, I think there were 2 or 3 at the time, now there's 6, so we need to find somewhere safe in the world. So CJ, unborn at this time, his parents walk for a week to Ethiopia. They're going past families that haven't made it on the side of the road. They have limited food and water. They get to Ethiopia, get into a refugee camp. It's like, okay, this is a story. Then CJ's conceived and born in the refugee camp. His first 6 years of his life, no running water, no power. The ball that he plays with is a balloon wrapped in cloth, and that's what they have to make their own fun, which is just incredible. They then get a call to say, Australia's accepting you as a family. They fly. He has no English. He watches Night at the Museum with no English, working out how the people are inside the screen. It's like, what's happening here? They land in Australia with no language, really. He then starts to play sport and meets people. At 12, starts to play football, not knowing the rules. At 16, gets a scholarship to Xavier. It's like, that story is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He debuts in the snow in Canberra against the Giants. Like, so you tell these stories. Last year, 2024, Medvedev is playing Sinner in the final of the Aussie Open. I said to the kids, "You want to watch the final?" They said, "Oh, who's playing?" I said, "Here's Medvedev's story. Here's Yannick Sinner's story. Yannick Sinner's the downhill champion skiing at 14 in Italy. Doesn't really play tennis much until 14, makes the choice. The logo on his hat is the mountains, and he's got the red hair. He's called the Fox. Mountains and the Fox and his initials. That was enough to have my kids fully into Yannick Sinner's corner."
Yeah.
So the story, our role as broadcasters is to give people a reason to barrack. So why am I watching this team or wanting that debutant to win? Or when the two robots are hitting balls at either end of the court, why should I be barracking for him or her over him or her? So it's a long-winded answer to what do I like best, but I like telling people's stories to the world, because I still marvel at the fact that all of these performers we're seeing, Nick Dacos, Roger Federer, Novak, Steph Gilmore, Ash Barty, they're all born, put into a crib. It's like, is she going to become a world champion? Not sure. Next crib, is she? Not sure. She's an 8-time world champion in 25 years. Like, you serious? Like, yep. Give me the path to get there from there. That's the fun stuff.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing.
Long-winded, garbly answer.
I love it.
We love long-winded answers, Haim. You mentioned being overseas, coming back and not showing any rust. Looking last...
Well, I didn't say no rust. There's rust, but it was dry. The car was drivable.
I saw you interviewed Ange Postecoglou.
Okay.
AIA Vitality Let's Talk. And he's someone, I read his book at the start of the year, Ange Ball. And being a big soccer fan, we both are. It's congrats to Liverpool. It was not nice seeing Tottenham get smashed 5-1. But Ange Postecoglou, his story is one that I'm really fascinated with in terms of his upbringing and being a Greek family and coming to Australia and not having much. Interviewing someone like him, he seems like someone who's quite intimidating, and he'd be a dream guest for us one day. What's it like sitting down with someone that you probably look at and consider yourself, I'm going to sit opposite this person and I'm on level playing field? How do you not... You sitting opposite us, I go, okay, Hamish is such a qualified media personality. He's ticked so many amazing things off in his career. I feel honoured to sit next to you and talk to you. How do you go about sitting across from someone like Ange and telling his story the right way?
First of all, you guys, you're really good at what you do. You're 5 years in. Not many people have a 5-year podcast, so don't undersell yourselves. And I think that is a little bit of the answer too. It's like Ange or Barack Obama or Roger Federer or Novak or Kobe Bryant or Ash or Steph or James Hird, who you guys have interviewed, all get up in the morning, all hope they have a happy day. They go and have a shower, have a shave, go to the loo, do their teeth, have breakfast, go to the gym. We're all just humans. In the end, that's all we are. We've spoken about, you get born and at the end you die. They're both certainties. The rest is really sort of just bits and pieces. So Ange couldn't be more low-key, couldn't be easier, couldn't be more welcoming. Federer the same, Rafa the same, Steph, and like just people. So my daughter is, there's Miller who's just 12. No, that's not true. She's almost 13. Indy's 11 and Lex just 9. So when they go to speak and when they do things, I say the same thing that I'm about to say to you now. I say, what's the worst thing that can happen? You might stumble on a word or make a mistake. If they're really good people, it makes no difference to them. So Miller had to do a speech the other day. She won a speaking contest in France. All these schools went to a final and we had a big road trip to get to the final. It was this great experience, and the journey is always better than the destination. On a train from Geneva to Nice, on a train from Switzerland to Geneva Airport, fly to Nice, then another hour experience. She goes, what happens if I don't go well? It's like, you're going to come somewhere between first and eighth. That's how many were in the comp. So how you perform, who knows? But have you done the work? Yep, I've done the work. It's like, do you feel good about it? Yeah, I feel good about it. Is there anything we can improve on between now and then? These are the things. So let's just keep working. Because the last 3 or 4% is what always makes the difference. Brownlow winner, the Australian Open winner, 8-time champ versus 6-time champ. It's these tiny little margins that are hidden in the corners you don't really see. But are you prepared to look in every corner to find the percentages to take yourself from here to here, or here to here, or here to here? And so, again, long-winded, but an Ange you go and sit down with, a guy that woke up this morning wanting Tottenham to win, all the stresses, can he keep a marriage alive? Are his kids healthy? They're his priorities. Then there's Tottenham. So if you go in and show that you've done all the work and that you're prepared and you're respectful and that you want to learn from him, they will treat you as you hope to be treated. If you're unprepared and shambolic and not respectful, then expect a different outcome. So do you get intimidated? Intimidated, not really. Slightly more nervous or slightly more apprehensive sometimes than others, probably. But have you done the work? If you've done the work, it always works out well. And if there's a mistake that's made somewhere along the line, generally everyone's very forgiving of each other because everyone's made mistakes. Ange doesn't want to get pounded by Liverpool. He understands that happens. I don't want to get a name wrong of his family member. He'll correct and help. Was it Whittlesey? Yeah. Was it the Whittlesey Zebras? Did I get that right? He'll make sure it's like, I did something with Alex Pearce the other night. I said, how does a guy that plays predominantly forward as a junior end up one of the most dour defenders in football? He goes, well, I actually played forward a bit. It's like, did you? Because the last couple of years I got pushed forward. So I got it wrong, but he made it feel okay. And I think that's what happens. So if you've got comfort, you've done the work and who you're dealing with is a good person, you don't ever get intimidated that anything's going to go wrong. Like Miller, I did something with Obama not so long ago. It's like Miller said, are you nervous? Like, just shower, loo, teeth. So, yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break from Mr. Smooth, Hamish McLachlan, for a quick word with our sponsors, Fleet Plan Hire Solutions.
Fleet Plan, FBH. Actually, we've got a little song, don't we? FBH. Basically, Fleet are the best in the business for all your earth moving needs.
Yes.
I think everyone, Hamish even knew them. He saw the logo and went, I know Fleet Plan. If you don't, well, now you do. Head to fbh.com.au, find out a bit more about them today.
Back to the episode with Hamish McLachlan. Love it. So, I mean, for us that have watched you for so many years now on TV or listened to you on radio, tell us a little bit about the start, because I think with some other broadcasters, they've come straight from AFL football. You kind of have seen that 10 or 15 years prior, but with you kind of popping up, my recollection, correct me if I'm wrong, based on your rule then, but my recollection is like 2008-ish.
Yep.
Is when I remember kind of, I don't know if that was exactly when Seven came in to take over the AFL, but that's when I remember starting to sort of see you. So prior to that, the years leading up to it, what were you doing and how did you get your start there?
Yeah. So if you wind it right back, you can always find a point in time. So we grew up on a sheep and cattle farm and we had horses everywhere and we would always be riding. Gil and I used to ride to school. Mum would say, why am I driving you to school? There's a horse there. I can work a horse. We can get to school and I can turn around. There's 3 horses that worked. So, okay. So we'd ride to school. He was 2 years older. He would always be on a slightly bigger horse. He'd jump the fences. I had to get off, open them. He'd be on time. I'd be late. Tennis racket in the backpack, smacking me in the back of the head, his cricket bat. So you go through all that. And on the weekends, my father, who Mum rode, Dad rode, there was a local polo club. That sounds, as soon as you mention the word polo, it sounds highfalutin. It was in the middle of nowhere, 38 degrees every weekend. But Dad would play and we'd groom, tack up the horses, hose them down, hold them, and then we'd muck around. And you get good and then you start playing and then people say, hey, come and play with us. But we'd always have to put the goalposts out, put the bins up, make sure on the tournaments that the microphone was plugged in. On this one day, the guy that was supposed to be commentating couldn't be found. So I say to Dad, who was captain of the club, Dad, I can't find Reg Willing. He says, well, if you can find someone that talks more than you can, get them to do it. If you can't, you do it. So it's like, righto, I can talk, so I'll go and do this. So I go and grab the microphone, and all he used to do was announce, could Hexham go to ground B and play Penola, thank you, and switch it off. And a mate of mine, Sam Bailey, said, commentate. It's like, what do you mean? He goes, commentate the game. Because it's somewhere deep down, everyone wants to be Bruce McAvaney or Dennis Cometti. So I started play-by-play calling the game. And I was about 14 or 15. They said, do the next game. And next week, the guy said, do the final this week. I was like, okay. So whenever I turned up, they'd say, can you commentate? One thing leads to another. Years down the track, a mate of mine called Andrew Hine, who was English, captain of the English team, I'm now living in Melbourne, commentating the World Cup semi-final. He said, hey, England's playing Australia in the middle of the year. Will you go over and commentate? It's like, seriously? He goes, 100%. We need an Australian caller in England. It's like, okay. He goes, it's a big day. It's like, yeah, for sure. So he said, we'll organise a flight. It's like, right, I thought I was paying more. Yeah, no, great. He said, you need to get there the day before to go through the protocols because you'll be doing the presentations with Her Majesty. It's like, sorry?
Oh, my God.
So it's like, what do you mean? He said, this is the Coronation Cup on the Queen's ground, the Windsor Polo Club. So you'll need to work out all the protocols because she is there. You'll be commentating next to the Royal Box. And so I go over and Prince Harry and William are playing in the first game.
No way.
So they play the first game. It's a wet day. And then someone comes over and says, you're in the Cartier, it's a Cartier International Day. You're having lunch in the Cartier Marquee. Go over and see the team at Cartier. It's like, right. So I'm wearing a suit and tie and I walk over. And it's funny, this all ties in late. I haven't told this story, I don't think. So I go over to the Cartier Marquee and you're sitting over there. So I go over and I'm being introduced. I'm walking past Piers Brosnan and Kate Blanchett. And so I go over this table.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah. So I sit down and I'm introducing myself. And I say to a guy, hi, I'm Hamish McLachlan. He goes, James Blunt. I say, oh, good day, James. It's 2005 or 6.
He's at the peak of his powers.
He's not quite as he is now. So I say, oh, what do you do? He goes, I'm a musician. I was like, oh, you're a singer? He goes, yeah. He said, anything I'd know? He goes, do you listen to the radio? I said, well, I've just landed yesterday. He goes, I've just gone to #1. I said, oh, what's the song? He goes, You're Beautiful. I think I've heard a James Blunt song every week since. But fast forward, and he was great. He said, oh, what are you doing? And we're chatting away. I go away, and I'm in New Year's Eve 23. I've been away for 2 weeks. A mate who we get an invite to for a New Year's Eve party. I said, what is this party? He said, James Blunt's putting on this party. It's for 60 people. We've got you 2 tickets, Soph and I, my wife. To get to where we're going to this New Year's Eve party in this snow town, we have to get on a bus. And it's New Year's Eve. And it's 8:30. Everyone's sort of getting ready. And we get on the bus. It's like, that's James. So James and his wife, Sophia, and my wife, Sophie, and I are on the bus. There's 4 of us on this bus. And my kids are outside putting us on the bus. I walk up and say, James, Hamish McLachlan. He said, have we met? I said, 2005. He goes, Carter International. I said, I cannot believe you remember that. I said, do you know what's, you'd just gone to, I explained the story I just told you. He said, do you know what's funny about it? My book's just gone to #1 last week. So the 2 times we've ever met. Long story short,
that's amazing.
I'll give you a photo of he and I on New Year's Eve. It was heroes and villains. He's Robin, and I've got no kit, but a mate's got a Aston Martin Formula 1 kit for some random reason. I go as one of the 2 Aston Martin drivers. And the night is very good fun. The next day, we both turn up so seedy. Our kids have got to go to a skiing lesson because we're now living on a mountain and there's this program they've all got to go to. His 2 kids are in my boys' ski group. So James and I are sitting there feeling horrific, like 11 a.m. after a 6 a.m. finish. And then, it's funny how these worlds collide. 2 days later, Lex, my boy, is with JJ and his other son having stir fry with James at his place in, 20 years later. How do we get on this story?
Don't know, but it's an amazing story.
It was about how you came into broadcasting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So back to the polo. So I did this thing, and then I was working for a sports management group, and I rang Craig Kelly, who was my hero as a child. I used to barrack for Norwood. He played for Norwood. My first job is working for him in a sports management group. I rang him. I said, he let me have a week off to go and do this day. I said, there's so much opportunity in polo over here. We should run a Brownlow for the polo. He goes, man, if you can make it work, great. So I stay over there with Andrew Hine. We do the Audi Polo Awards, which is like the Brownlow for polo. Every summer for 4 years, I go back. I've been doing this for 2 or 3 years. After 2007, Channel 7 got the rights back. This is how the world works. So I'm living in Melbourne in 1999. my brother played uni blues footy against OMs. He becomes great mates with a guy called Andrew Thompson, who ends up playing 221 games for the Saints after being overlooked in the draft a lot. Plays for Victoria, becomes a great mate of mine. These stories are going to go so long. So he's on his end of year trip holiday in Noosa. He's in a swimming pool with his wife, Soph, and kids. There's a guy in the pool with him. They're looking at each other, and they said, "Do we know each other?" He said, "I'm Andrew Thompson, played with the Saints." He goes, "Lewis Martin. I'm at Channel 7, he's GM at that point, and not that at that time head of sport." But he said, "What did you think of our footy coverage this year?" And then Minnie, being very blunt, goes, "Oh, it was good. It doesn't sound like you're enamoured with it." He goes, "Well, it's sort of all the same faces." And this is sort of how Min recalls it. He said, "You should have some new talent, fresh blood." Yeah, okay, give me a name. And Andrew Thompson, who I was living with, it'd be the equivalent of saying dos or D. And he said, Hamish McLachlan. And Lewis goes, "I know Hamish. He works for Ned in the sports management." Yeah. And Andrew said he's been in England for a few years doing some things and hosting polo and hosting awards dinners, and he would be great. He goes, "I don't reckon he'd work hard enough." So, okay. He goes, "Give him a chance." So he gets out of the pool, sends me a text saying, "You might get a call from Lewis Martin." Get a call from Lewis Martin saying, "Hey, why don't you come and do a pilot?" This is in sort of November 2007. Conversations roll on. "Would you like to do a footy show?" And that's when I get given Game Day, which is a Sunday morning show, knowing nothing. They took the biggest risk. And for the first 15 years, I was terrible. I'm starting to come good or get better now. But it was a huge risk. So I owe Andrew Hine, who said, "Come over to England." Reg Willing, who didn't turn up when I was 14 to host the polo. Lewis Martin and Andrew Thompson in the pool. And then the late Ian Johnson, who said, because they were umming, should they fly Basil Zemplis over? Should Sandy Roberts do the show or go with a fresh talent? And they all, right or wrongly, said, go with someone new, give someone a chance. And they did. And now I'm lucky enough to be on your podcast.
Amazing. I'm sure
sliding doors,
it's crazy.
People giving people a chance,
Big time.
People be prepared to take a risk and get it wrong. And also from my end, it's like, Ned, can I go to England? Yes. Ned says, stay over there if there's things to be done.
Insane.
You spoken about the importance of making other people feel, rather than you being interesting, other people are interesting themselves. So there's a quote that I love. There's two people that walk into a room. One walks into a room and says, "Here I am." Another person walks in and says, "There you are." And hearing you talk about that it was the Little Fish pod with Pat Raft, and you spoke about Pat Rafter. And the influence and what you learnt was you should always be focused on making other people seem as interesting as possible rather than making it about yourself. Can you maybe expand a little bit more around the importance of making others the spotlight rather than yourself?
Well, it's not just for me from a broadcast point of view. I mean, I've never played AFL or coached AFL, so I'm always an asker of questions. But to your point, here I am versus there you are. Great, love it. Similar vein, to be interesting, be interested. And Pat Raft, I've told this story that a couple of weeks in a row we sat next to two tennis players. One didn't ask a question, the other never let us speak because all he did was ask questions. Like, so interesting because he was interested. So engaging because he was interested. And that was Pat. And he's one of I grew up idolising. Then I met him and he becomes, never meet your heroes, I say, because they always let you down. He went from hero to God because he's just such a nice, low-key, level-headed, interested, humble guy. But I say to my kids when they meet people, ask 3 questions. And it's amazing where things will go from there. So Miller, Indy, Lex, they all say, "Hi D, I'm Indy. What do you do?" And then you will say something like, "We're on the peninsula." You'll say, we've been living until 4 weeks ago on the peninsula for 7 years. So then the conversation will be about the peninsula. Then it's like, where did you go to school? I was at Red Hill Primary. And things then suddenly become. So within 4 minutes of asking a few questions and answering them with a bit of generosity, you and Indy are going skateboarding together or surfing together or, it's right. As opposed to close shop, don't ask a lot of questions. Like, how do I go from here to here? So I'm interested in people. That's a great baseline. people have incredible stories. How do you get the story from them? So Unfiltered really is about asking questions, having people answering them in an interesting way. So, you know, your story about how you were both on Peninsula doing different things, doing a podcast in your spare room or your bedroom that didn't have an audience is how you start. Like, let's deepen, you know, go deep in that and find out what was the stimulus. Where was the person that said, this is how it becomes 5 to 10,000 listens a week? This is how you get your first. Who was the person that's the interesting stuff. And it's like, I can do a podcast with Choose a Player, Trent Cotchin. The numbers you can find on AFL tables.
Yeah.
The story for me is the interesting bit.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not a hardship for me to go deep on DOS or UD. I love that because then it's like, I'll ring you in a week's time and say, I've got a guy for you. He'd be a really good podcast. But if you don't ask the questions, you know, you don't know where it all fits in.
How do you build that rapport though, that to make them feel so comfortable to open up in that way? Like even Unfiltered, hearing Craig McRae open up the way he did, even shed a tear talking about his lowest moment, not having money to almost, you know, to live.
Yeah.
There has to be something along the line to make him feel comfortable enough to want to share that with you.
I think trust is enormous. I hope that the players and the coaches and the guests know that I'm not there too. So you asked me something earlier before we hit record. It's like, is there anything you don't want to talk about? Great play, because it suddenly means that if there is something that's uncomfortable, I know that you're not going to go there. So that trust builds. You know, I think years go by and people get a feel for whether or not you're genuine. I would hope that people say about me, and I think you would hope the same. He's a genuine, trustworthy guy that has best intentions. And you can only get that from years of doing what you do. So Bruce McAvaney is the benchmark in our industry, broadcasting and comms. He's the most interested individual I've ever had anything to do with, the best prepared I've ever had anything to do with, and the most genuine. Yeah, he is everything you hope he'll be. And he's the most trusted, I would think, in our industry, for all the reasons that we speak about. You know, he wants the best of everyone. He wants everyone to play 10% better than they played last week. And he always gets people to elevate. And with that comes, you know, huge respect and trust, and you just know that he always wants you to be the best you can be. I've told the story before about, we used to talk before going on at 7:30 on a Friday night. You've probably heard this story.
It's a great one.
He gave me a stat. Andy Murray lost to a guy called Jordan Thompson the night prior at Queen's. And he said, Hamish, that's the first time Andy Murray's ever been beaten by an Australian. He was 17-0. We go on air. He said, Hamish, you told me a stat earlier that Andy Murray had never been beaten by an Australian. I did not know that. So, you know, that's Bruce. Makes you look enormous, makes the public feel that I knew something that Bruce didn't, wasn't true, but that's what Bruce wants them to know. And no jealousy or competitive juices not allowing him to make you look better, play better and bigger and taller and stronger. He's always going to be there. Everyone else is always going to be here. He's not insecure about anyone coming anywhere near him. He's Kelly Slater.
Yeah.
No one's touching Kelly. And that's an incredible trait. Again, long way of saying, I've never had any jealousy in my life. I've never had any sense of, I hope they don't go well. Somebody said to me once, are you jealous of Gillen? It's like, I don't understand the question. What do you mean? He goes, well, he's been so successful. Like, how could I be anything other than unbelievably proud of Gil? So I was his best man, he was my best man. You know, two younger brothers, they're each other's best mans. We've all been each other's groomsmen. It's like, jealous? What an odd question. But I guess everyone's different. But I've never had 1 ounce of jealousy towards any of my brother's success, or indeed anyone's success. I'm delighted that you guys are going well. You know, there's no sense of jealousy there. It's an odd thing for me to have contemplated towards Gil. Sidetrack, but
If he was hosting the Brownlow or hosting game day? Would it still be the same feeling, or is it just because he's different roles?
No, I think it's like relevant question, but it's like he's sitting there on the Brownlow. It's like I remember our first Brownlow. I sort of hide behind the stage, and he has to be seated on the panel on the desk, and we're sort of chatting. So I just have to walk around behind the curtain, and he's just there. It's like, this is weird. Like, we grew up in a town of 260 people.
It's crazy.
He barracked for Sturt and I barracked for Norwood. He was Rick Davies and I was Michael Aish. We used to, Mum, can we watch the Brownlow? Have you done all your homework? Yeah. And generally it wasn't a school night because it was the holidays. But it did fluctuate a bit because the VFL Grand Final was always slightly different to ours. It was like, they are gods, the winners. You know, the hosts are, it's like, what are we doing here? It's sort of slightly imposter syndrome, but it was like, it's a nice moment. And when he was made the CEO of the AFL, that's one of the proudest moments of my life. I was at the Warrnambool races, actually Warrnambool races today. So I'd never been to Warrnambool. I went down on the Monday night to go to the Warrnambool races. And he rang me. I was on stage at the Croydon Football Club doing a fundraiser, and he said, "Can you talk?" It's like, "I'm doing a panel right now, just texting." Because I've been made CEO, presses at 9 tomorrow. I left at 4 a.m, borrowed a car, so I've still never been to the Warrnambool races. I almost got to the Warrnambool races.
Nearly got there.
Is this a famous Gill? That's where he wore that suit, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's a good photo for this podcast. He says he thought he looked incredible. Retrospectively, he did not look incredible. But the mustard jacket and the Peaky Blinders cap. Have you got one?
I don't remember. What colour was the jacket?
Mustard.
You'll see it in about...
Yeah. Mustard cord jacket with a Peaky Blinders hat. There's a photo of he and Demetrio looking at the form guide. Funny that years later, you know, he's CEO of Tabcorp, you know, hoping that everyone...
That's true. Yeah. That's very true.
But no, it's like... I've never, ever, like Abby Holmes, just a gun boundary rider.
Yeah.
And she's just a sponge for...
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
He thought he'd crushed it. He did not crush it.
Andrew didn't get the dress memo either.
I think, well, you know what Warrnambool was like? Warrnambool was generally -7.
Yeah.
So I was dressed for warmth and comfort because you're on that hill there eating cans, race after race.
It's funny you say this, Hamish, because we've been fortunate enough to welcome on this show. Abby's one, Brian Taylor's another, Mark Howard's another, all these people we look up to in broadcasting. And the way you answer that last question is very similar across the board with all of them. Even so, you talk about being genuine. So we told you off air, we've got a close friend that has been on the show before. I don't know if we name him or not and embarrass him, but sometimes when we've got mutual friends, he's our go-to man. He'll say, ask him this, ask him that. That'll catch him off guard, have a laugh. We said, have you got any dirt on Haim? And he said, nothing. Not a single thing.
Well, he must have been being either very kind or having some lapses. But but just to finish off on Abby.
Yeah.
So when I went away, she was taking over all the sort of the hosting that I would have normally done on a 7. And she said, can I just pick your brain? It's like, I love that. And I want you to be as good as you can possibly be. And she's always been good. And I think now her questions are short and punchy. And, you know, we spoke about if you can ask a question in 15 words, you can probably ask it in 9. And if you get it to 9, probably get it to 6. If you get it to 6, probably get it to 3. And she always just finds a way to do that. The players love her.
Yeah.
She's just such a great addition. But to get where she's got to, you know, she's been hugely inquisitive and done a lot of work, and she was paying for her own flights early days to, you know, she wasn't making any money. But I don't get any sense of jealousy from her flying. It's like, I love seeing her fly. And, you know, I think that being interested, not only interested, I just wanted to go well. Yeah. I'm glad that Gil's CEO. I'm glad that he's had success. I want my other brothers to be the best versions of themselves. I don't in any way want them to be less in any way, shape or form. And anyone who feels like that, I think, is missing a trick. Yeah, it's like, why would you want anything other than everyone to flourish, brother or not, best friend or not? Don't get me wrong. If Anzac Day football. There's Collingwood and Essendon to call, and there's Fremantle and Adelaide. The roster comes out, it's like Fremantle, Adelaide.
Well, can I ask then too on that, because like we just said a moment ago, that there seems to be, with all the people that we admire anyway, there seems to be a common theme, and that's exactly how you've just described it. So, but I'm also interested in hearing stories from years gone by of some of these great callers or broadcasters when things don't quite go to plan, but it's not. I don't want to, faults might not be the right word, but it's out of their control. So something has been let down, whether it's a technical issue, somebody else, some production, all things that are quite common. So taking us behind the curtain of Channel 7 or a Triple M, or when something goes wrong that's out of your control, how do you typically deal with it? And have you picked up on anything that you've learnt from others, keeping their cool in those situations?
I think your last point's the critical point. Keep it cool. So let's strip it back again. So we're making television. Well, it's not heart surgery or brain surgery. No one's in danger. So on as recently as Friday night, I was hosting on ground, couldn't hear anything, lost sound. Like, it doesn't really matter. You just continue to work your way through it. I went upstairs and my eyes are bad. I've had laser surgery. I need to do it again, but I can't. I either need binoculars or I need a monitor. And there's two monitors, and I learnt this from Dennis. Dennis Cometti said, why don't you have, what he's done is it's called Camera One. It's effectively having the binoculars on the plate. It's a close-up camera.
Yep.
And then next to it is the program. And then next to it is stats. And I got up the other night and the program and the Camera One were around the wrong way. So I couldn't really see above. Kane Corn sits there with his laptop. So I said, can you switch? And it was tricky for them to switch. In early doors, I couldn't really work out what was going on. For those first 5-6 minutes was a bit of a cluster. And I called Tolstrip Sharp. Sharp's the sub at this point. But because I couldn't see, it was just a blonde mop. I shouldn't have said anything. I should have said Demons at halfback, work it around to Rivers, to Sparrow. But I didn't do that. And it's like, oh, my God. Because then I saw the program. So it's like, address it immediately. It's like, apologies, I think I've just called Sharp, who's the sub, and Tolstrip, apologies to all families. Just deal with it.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks prior, Gather Round, I think it was, there was a light show running late, all the monitors gone. So, we're blind. It's like, I know that I'm supposed to have a monitor here, but I've got a guy in my ear. He says, hey, monitors are gone. Just talk about Crows Tall Forwards. Great images going to be taken care of. You're covered up. If you panic there, it's like it's not going to help you. And there's actually no need to panic. And again, strip it back to the conversation with my daughter Miller. It's like, what's the worst thing that happens here? You make a mistake. Like, I've made 58 mistakes so far here on this podcast, talking, mumbling, stuttering, missing a word, I don't care. No one does, no one's listening does. So it's like, if you get flustered by that and you're always worried what happens if I make a mistake, you're going to stop playing shots. Do you know when you're playing cricket and you're worried you're going to get out?
Yeah.
Or, you're going to miss 100% of shots you don't take. So when I said 100% of the shots you don't take, then I stumbled on percent. Like another mistake, but it's such a minor mistake, you keep rolling. So there's a great movie called Bridge of Spies. Have you seen that with Tom Hanks?
No.
He's a lawyer. He has to represent a Russian spy that needs a fair trial. No one wants him to represent a Russian spy in America. Long story short, during the movie, he says to the Russian, you know that if we don't do this and this, you will be executed. He goes, I understand. He goes, you don't seem worried. He said, would it help? He goes, no. Halfway through the movie, if you do it, you'll be executed. You know that. He goes, okay, I understand. He goes, you don't seem so worried. He goes, would it help? Last scene of the movie, they're exchanging spies, American and a Russian, and they've formed this wonderful relationship. And he says, how do you know if they're going to look after you or not? He says, well, I think if they give me a hug and it's warm, I'll be okay. If they usher me into the back, it's not going to be so good. He goes, you don't seem so worried. He goes, there's a great line, and I was doing some work with Bontempelli pre-Brownlow. Would have been one of the years he was runner-up.
Bugger.
Mad doggy.
I would love. There you go. There's Bridges spot. Oh, I don't know how you want to use that.
We probably can't use it, to be honest, for copyright and stuff.
Cut it in later,
yeah.
but well, just have a look. How long does it go for, Sam? Is it Sam? Listen to this. Headed around it.
How did we do in there?
Not too good. Apparently you're not an American citizen.
That's true.
And according to your boss, you're not a Soviet citizen either.
Well, the boss isn't always right, but he's always the boss.
Do you never worry?
Would it help?
Pretty great, huh? Do you
Yeah.
never worry? Would it help? And that's the reality. I say to the kids, they do ski racing. They get nervous and anxious, and you're going to come somewhere between first and last. But what I would give to be in your situation now, fit, young, competitive, having these opportunities. If you worry about this stuff that probably won't come to be, I was talking about Bont before we showed that, and I said, what are your learnings, through the Euro AFL career so far? He said, don't borrow problems from the future. It's like, great. Yeah, and so you do more work on that. It's like 75% of the things you worry about never come to be.
Yeah.
So why would you spend any of your time worrying about them? So then if you worry about what might happen on air, or what might happen with your marriage, or what might happen with the health of your children, you miss all these great moments when none of those things are happening. So would it help? So I've lived that, I think you guys know my daughter, when she was 8 months old, we get news that she may not make it. She does, and she's perfect, she's healthy. But since that dose of perspective, it's like, did I get Sharp and Tolstrup wrong?
Yeah.
Am I going to worry about that? Yeah. Somebody also said to me that helps. What are you worried about? It's like, this. Is it going to marry? What are you worried about? This. Will it matter in 5 years' time? No, it's like, what are you worried about? And I hope that those that are listening can take a bit of that, because it's helped me immeasurably not worry about small things. There's my wife and children and immediate family and friends. And there is this chasm between everything else. And it's all just white noise.
Yeah.
And the guys, Chris Jones, who's my boss at Seven, may or may not listen to this. If you do, Jonesy, Seven to me is so far second. I love it, but I don't love it anywhere near as much as this stuff. And so if any of that stuff doesn't go so well, if Jonesy said to me today, you're out, we're off, we've run out of money. So I'm going to do something else that's awesome with great people. So for me, Gil and I were talking, and he was debating what's next. And he said, the things that are critical to me, the one non-negotiable is people. People is the most important. Then it's purpose. Like I've got to feel like there's purpose. Then there's scale. Can I make this bigger? Then is it complex enough to challenge me? So people, purpose, scale, complexity. And then the reality is ego. Will it fill and fuel my ego? And then lastly, does it pay all the bills? Like they're the six, but this, it's like 7 closes. I'll come and do a podcast with you guys. Is it fun? Is it going to be awesome? Is there a way to take it and become the next Barstool Sports? Or whatever it is. Like there'll be something, somewhere. We're going to do Unfiltered on the road, family and I. We just go and stop in and, every good American sports team. It's like, we'll find something.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to worry about getting sacked from 7, because it's just going to make my time at 7 unenjoyable. And why would you bother? It's like the coach. You know you're going to get sacked. Don't worry about it. It'll happen. Worry about when it happens.
Yeah.
And we miss out on now. And it's
The present stuff, right?
Yeah. And it's
Now.
Yeah.
I get to do a podcast with you guys. I had an unbelievable coffee on the way in, made by a guy who's a craftsman. I get to watch the kids after school tonight do some gym. Change your letter, change your life. Have you heard that?
No.
I've got to take the kids to training tonight. I can't go and play golf. Bad way of looking at it. I'd love to play golf, but I get to take the kids to training, so I won't be able to do it today. Got becomes get, change the O to E. I get to. There's a chance of my oldest daughter I always cry. There was a chance my oldest daughter wouldn't have been doing gym at 12. I get to take her to gym. Like, wow. So I get to enjoy every moment. At some point, you'll ring my number and I won't pick up. Enjoy every moment till that happens, you know. I might live to 70, you know, I might live to 80, I might live till tomorrow afternoon. Nothing's guaranteed. So am I seriously worried about being booted by 7 or getting Tolstrup and Sharp's name wrong? Or, you know, something that's equally as minute?
Love it. It's perspective.
Yeah.
Do you feel like sometimes, because it's when you say that, I really connect and relate to it, and we've all probably got our own battles and had our own battles and personal connections to real challenge. But to those that maybe haven't, is it harder for those that haven't seen or felt a challenge, and it could be a loss of a loved one or someone becoming ill or losing a job or, you know, something quite deep and impactful of your life? Is it hard to see that perspective when you haven't experienced it?
Probably harder too. I think I'd always known that nothing was really that important that should upset you or completely own you or control you. That final time. That's Siren.
Next question.
That's what we've been worrying about all day.
But that's, no one
that's
cares,
a good
right?
point.
No one cares, right? No one cares.
Yeah.
So if you listen to the Cozzy Unfiltered, there's a guy angle grinding a seat. It's like, no one cares.
Yeah.
So to go back to your point on that, Dos. So yes, probably. But I think everyone deep down knows that nothing's that important. Take Neil Danaher. He gives me more perspective than anyone I've ever met. So there's a footballer that I'm close to. He's in his 3rd year. His career so far is freakishly good. Hasn't been winning a lot. I do stuff with him, and his whole thing is, you know, there's criticism and we're not winning much. It's like, all right, I'll give you the rest of your career. I don't want to give the name away, so I won't give too many stats away. You've done this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. If when we met pre your draft, I could tell you all that would happen in your first 2 years, would you take it? And he goes, it's ridiculous. I said, so you're worrying about this tiny piece over here and this external noise. The guys that are making the noise aren't playing.
Yeah.
They're not in the fire. Have you heard the Theodore Roosevelt Man in the Arena speech?
Yeah.
Great one.
That was in there. That was our big thing in our
apartment.
We
We had
told
it
you about the
framed.
apartment
Yeah.
back in the day. That was our big thing on the wall.
So it's not the critic who counts, not the one who points out how the strong man stumbles or how the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena doing the deed. So it's like, mate, they're not there doing it. And even if they have been, they're not. But like, why would you? Somebody said to me once, why would you be affected by someone whose opinion you don't value and whose time you don't want to spend with? Like, yeah. What people think of me is none of my business. Like their business.
Yeah.
So imagine if I would go online and read Hamish McLachlan is insufferable. Like, am I really going to go to ground over a guy that writes that, who's got 6 followers and the 3 posts of himself are 3 topless photos of him in his bed? That's actually happened.
No, we believe it because unfortunately, I didn't want to say this, but once these TikTok videos go out, I mean, we've said it, you can be anybody sitting in that chair, and the insufferable is a nice way of putting it, but no one's liked, is it? Like, it's just on
Bruce
that platform.
McAvaney, who's the nicest guy on the human, one of the greatest broadcasters in
Yeah.
history, says, if I get half of the people liking me, I've done a great job. But misery loves company. So let's go through this piece around social media. So let's assume that you, D or DOS, see someone online that you do not like. So first of all, you've got to have a dislike to someone. Then you've got to have it within you to think, I'm going to post something poisonous or toxic about that individual. That's a very big step.
Yeah.
How you go from there to there, for me, is quite a large step. Then you've got to do the typing. So you've still got, I can still hit eject here. You're typing. Then you reread it and you go, yeah, I'm going with that.
Yeah.
So then you've got to hit send. And after you've hit send, you've still got the opportunity, I assume, to delete it.
Yeah.
But you don't. What sort of a person is doing that? So is there any way that I'm going to be affected by that person? I'm assuming when they walk in, they're either a terrible human or they change and back down.
Yes.
So the other day, I called I never post. I like reading, learning, but I'm not thick-skinned enough to be doing that. I posted once in my life and it was about Neil Danaher becoming Australian of the Year. But when the unfiltered stuff started going out, on one of the 7AFL unfiltered, this guy said, how does Hamish have a job? Like, such an odd thing. So I just said, you okay? Just to him. He replied back and said, mate, so sorry.
Yeah.
Had a really bad day at work. And I went back and checked it a couple of days later, it had been deleted. I don't even know why I did it. It was just like, this guy is clearly unhappy or something's wrong. But I just did want to do a temperature check. Anyway, I don't know how we got into that, but I just find that whole world, I've got, as I said, kids, 12, 11, 9. I won't let them on social. I don't want them to be there. And my biggest fear for them is cyberbullying and being influenced to such an extent that they think that shiny stuff over there is important.
Yeah.
You know what's important? Let's just keep building tree houses together in the school holidays and riding horses and cleaning out the troughs so the calves have got, it's like that stuff I want them to do forever. What I don't want them to do is wonder how their TikTok video's gone.
Yeah.
But how do we get on that? Was that being affected by?
We were talking about. I think my question was related to actually going through something yourself.
Yeah, so it's completely unrelated. But
No,
the
it's okay.
perspective piece is, if you're lucky enough to get it early in your life, it's less troubled, your life. Bont, don't borrow troubles from the future. Janie Martino's a lady in my life who's a ripper. She said to me years ago, comparison is a thief of joy.
Yeah.
That's helped me a lot.
We've said that, Hamish, that exact quote, especially in the last 5 years, the amount of times we've had to say that. Sometimes it's a self-check too. It's actually, or calling each other out. And we've done that multiple times. We've called the other person out, asking that exact question. What made you, why do you feel this way? Why do you feel that, like, and it always comes back to exactly that. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Is there any more vodka in that?
Hamish, I'm not kidding. We've had a guest come in and we've had vodka disguised as water, and we won't say who. We'll tell you off air, but you probably know him. But
I think just to finish, put a sort of a bow on all of that. Your life can be anxious and filled with worries. Come in, get bigger.
Yes, come in.
Sam? No.
Sammy, yeah.
Have you been on the podcast before?
Yeah, a few times.
Okay, any questions you'd like to ask D and DOS?
He knows too much about us already.
Is there anything that I should ask? You put your hand up when you've got something. Okay. But if you allow your life to be filled with what ifs, it's exhausting.
yeah,
Because no one knows, and I think if you just do everything to your best ability, life generally takes care of itself. And if you're a good person, you end up being surrounded by good people who look after you when the bad times come anyway.
Yeah.
And I've not experienced anything so bad so far that it's prevented me from being here. And I read something the other day. You're still here. Congratulations.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Well, I heard
It's
you.
true.
Sorry, I heard you say aging is a privilege.
Yeah, that was a mate of mine that. Have you heard that?
Yeah, and it's something I've spoken to my mum about, because I lost my dad 8 years ago, and I hate seeing my mum get older.
Yeah.
But she said to me, mate, it's how good is it? This is like you said, it's a privilege, and it's something I've turned 30 in January, and I hated it, and I had to really be brought in to have a real reality check to go, how good is it that I get to turn 30?
A lot haven't.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So I a mate of mine, Pat Cunningham, and his wife, Ange Cunningham, this story I've told, but she texted me and said, happy birthday. And I replied back, I might have been 42 or something. I'm 49 now. She was in her last throes of MND. I said, getting older, feeling older. And she's replied back with, what a privilege. It's like, how have I said that to someone who's not going to see many more years? But what it did do was articulate what a privilege it is. Now, you're 30, is August this year, I'm 50. And it's the first time I've genuinely felt, okay, I'm well past halfway. Let's call it 85. So 42 and a half is halfway. I'm 7.5 years past that. That was a big stimulus for last year. Family, let's go, let's travel. Because my oldest daughter started secondary school this year. It's like, this is our year. We'll never get that year again because I've got a kid in secondary school till 2034, then universities start and jobs get undertaken. So it's like these moments. And in fact, people that listen to this podcast, listen to a podcast called, it's an interview with a guy, it's called Die With Zero. Bill Perkins is the interviewer. It's really good. But what it basically says is we all get caught up in trying to get these financial dividends in our life. More money, invest, need the dividends. Reality is it's memory dividends, which are the joy in your life. You still remember the first time you caught a wave, kicked your goal, drove well off the first, 30-foot putt, kissed a girl, danced, with someone you love, all these things. Yeah. These are these amazing memory dividends that last. It's like whatever's sitting in the bank account, like we all need to be comfortable, don't get me wrong, and there's a need to have money, got it, completely, need to pay the rent, pay the bills. But we do lose sight of what's important. The joy I get from going to Bunnings and selecting the timber to build the treehouse with the kids and build it so that it's OH&S completely unsound. Yeah. And the joy I get from them being up there, it's like every time I go past the treehouse, I smile, let alone being with them in the treehouse. And the joy I get from them being still enjoying the simple pleasures. Yeah, it's like, don't lose sight of what is important.
I could, Jack, go down this rabbit hole all day. It's unbelievable. I'm mindful of time. We do have a segment and some gifts to give you shortly, but changing tacks just a little bit, Hamish. I did want to ask, because I've been waiting for so many years to ask somebody this question on our show, and it's not deep, so don't get too prepared. But changing tacks completely, you talked about keeping it cool in a live broadcast.
I know where you're going.
In the commentary box. We've just wanted to ask somebody about the famous Triple M Ricegate.
Ricegate.
And you're shuffling in your chair almost.
No, I'm trying to remember the year. I think it was 09, which means I was... Do we have the year, Sammy?
Sammy will find it.
09? So this is my first year of Triple M.
Oh, right.
So I started at 7 in 08, and then Triple M gave me an opportunity to call the following year. So it's not as if I'm a seasoned pro at this point. So Quarters and Chief, as we know, have an altercation about Trent Crode's future. I'm hosting bottom left. I remember it so well. And what was unbelievable, which I don't think people necessarily know, was the head of Triple M, Benny Amafio, who is just a legend. And by chance, I went fishing with on Sunday night with Lex, my boy, years later. Ben, who's just one of the great humans, ends up in Europe, comes and stays. He and Lex make slingshots, and I used to lose them for days at a time, just having this slingshot competition. They go fishing. But Ben Amafio was in the back of the box with, at the time, the head of Vodafone, Paul Guira, who bizarrely yesterday gets announced as the CEO of Melbourne Footy Club. There's a lot of worlds colliding. Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and suddenly Chief says whatever he says and throws a whole bucket of Nazi Goring over the top of Quarters. At which point, I'm thinking, this cannot be normal. And I'm looking at it all, and I look at Mark Stevens, who's the news journo at the time, and I said, so Steve-O, Collingwood and Adelaide playing later today, trying to sort of work out where to go. At which point, I think Quarters gets up and goes, I'm off. But he's got, what's the sweet and sour sauce just dripping out of his hair? There's little bits of rice.
A bit of lemon chicken or something, a bit of sweet and sour pork.
It's hard to take any of this in my stride. But then when I look back and see Ben and Paul, I think they almost think how good to put on a show for us. It's like, yeah, go for it.
Go about 2 minutes in, I reckon. Just get a gauge of where we're at.
This is
was a bit
exactly what
Trink
Channel
Road.
10 do. This is sensationalism. You're talking shit is what you're doing right
Don't
now.
swear on air.
I'm
You're better
telling
than
you,
that.
you're talking shit.
Don't swear on
and
air.
You are
You're better than that.
No, you shut up and listen instead
Don't
of
speak-
talking
don't speak
shit.
to me like that.
Well, then I won't talk to you.
Oh, there he goes.
Get out of the box.
Will do.
I will not work with
Will
someone
do.
like that. Get out of the box
Will
right
do.
now. Go on, nick
Will
off.
do.
Just throwing a whole tray of food on me.
A whole tray.
Nick
There's a
off.
couple
I'm
of
not working
crumbs.
with those.
Shut up.
Get out.
So, Steve-O,
So Steve-O, so
that's a
at that
classic.
point, it wasn't a whole tray of food. It was literally, the
Yeah.
Chinese whooshka. But it was whatever he had left, all of it.
All of it.
And it was Chief was here and Quarters was down. So it was
that's
a
so
downward
funny.
motion. It was, have you seen Seinfeld where the spit, anyway, it was a bit like that. But it was early in my media career. It was nice to be a part of.
And it'll live on forever.
It'll live forever. It's never not funny.
No, I know. We're saying
Yeah.
we've always brought that with Tunners, but
Before we jump into the
Tunners
segment,
was producing.
was it?
yeah.
Was he? Or maybe it was Sunday. Well, Tunners is still Mr. Triple M. He
Yeah.
produces everything important. But he taught me a lot over the years around just little things. Like he'd be producing, and I just started calling and say, "Hey, good call," or "I like that bit about that," or "You're talking for too long," or "clunky." But it was great. He was an immediate feedback guy. If you said to me, "Who are the best producers you've worked with?" He's right up there. I've done a few Olympics, few Com Games, 5 Brownlows. Like the producer is so critical in your life. He's a brilliant producer. I've only done radio with Tunners, but he's just a jet.
Yeah.
That's everything we've heard for sure about him. But Kobe Bryant, how did that opportunity come about? Because hearing it, he chose you specifically to be the person.
So it's an interesting one. I'm not huge on American sports. I only just get enough time in my life to, follow the sports I need to follow, all the Australian stuff. But so I get a phone call from Cam Roughhead, who is Jared's brother, who works at the management group I work for. You need to grab.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, just either text him. Wait, and if
Get
you
him
want,
in. Who we got? Who's our next guest?
Jace Hawkins from
Nova.
Jace.
Jace. I know Jace. Bring him in.
Yeah, we'll bring him in when you just welcome him in and just get him
Come
into
on,
the.
Sam. Have you got that question yet? So I get a phone call from Cam Roughhead, who's part of the management group that looks after my stuff. He said, "Would you like to do?" I said, "Man, I don't really know." "Yeah, I'd love to, but," I said, "You sure me?" He goes, "Well, the Hourglass, who was the group that was doing it, when they booked Kobe said, 'Who are my options as host?'" And this is where Kobe was unbelievable in terms of his detail. He said, "Send me some options." So they have to cut up a video with 3 or 4 options. And then he does the work at his end and said, "That one." And so when I get there, I say to Kobe, and this is where Kobe's incredible. So I said, "Can I meet you the day prior? We have an hour to talk about what we're going to do on stage the next day." And so I go up to level 23 at Crown. He's there. I knock on the door. Someone opens. There's publicists and there's managers and there's people signing jerseys and there's people making smoothies and there's people that are making the smoothies, the guy making the smoothies. And he gets up, stands up, walks over, goes, "Hamish." It's like, really? So that was that being interested piece. We sit down and he said, "It's going to be fun tomorrow. Where do you want to start?" I said, "We've only got an hour, but I thought 20 minutes pre-basketball, 20 minutes basketball, 20 minutes post-basketball." I said, "Can I just ask, why me?" He said, "Well, you and I are similar age. You and I both got 3 kids." At that time, he had one on the way. It's like sort of the same. He said, "I got to send a video. You can interview the Prime Minister. You can interview the kids on the side of the ground. You can interview Roger. Like, I think it'll work." So, okay. And I'd been told. So I didn't know much about his career. So I'd spend a lot of time finding out. I ring people who know him. I ring people who know his manager. And I have 3 stories that aren't that commonly known. He said, "How did you know those stories?" I rang. He goes, "I'll give you everything I got tomorrow night. You clearly do the work, so I'll do the work for you." And I knew that the thing that was most important to him was effort and work rate. So I wasn't going to go in without, and so to your point earlier, Dos, around intimidation, I think the 3 that I wanted to get right in my career were probably him, Roger Federer, and Oprah Winfrey. It's like, you guys are, in my world, the best at what you do, so I want to be up to standard, up to scratch. So you do more work than... And Bruce McAvaney always said to me, he said, whatever you do this much work. You'll only need this much of it. You don't know which it's going to be. So make sure you do it all. And so I will always go into the Brownlow with 6 or 8 people that I know if they win, I'm good. And I will probably over club it a bit, but like, I just don't want to let them down when it comes to that. But that's a Bruce thing, and you learn from a Kobe. It's like, I heard a quote that's, you don't fall on top of the mountain. You got to climb there.
Yeah.
So, these guys have climbed on top of the mountain. You do the work too pay. And if a debutante, I want to know, where are they from? What are their parents' names? Are there any brothers or sisters? Because if I have a son who debuts, it's like, tell me Lex's story.
Yeah.
Or Miller's story or Indy's story. So when we're doing the Olympics, like, tell me, like, where did this start? Because they're now an Olympian. They're now an AFL player.
Yeah.
They're now walking onto Rod Laver Centre Court. It's like, give me a reason to barrack too. It's important to get it right.
Love it. I love it. You learnt a lot today. I've
Heaps.
learnt I don't know if I've ever learnt this much from a single guest we've had. I'm not even blowing smoke up your ass and being dead serious.
But rest assured, I know nothing. And when we're talking about things that we're all comfortable with, but it's like, when I realised I didn't need to know anything, life became a lot easier.
Isn't that crazy?
Like, you always pretend
Yeah.
you know. So I don't know anything about anything, but I'm curious. Mike, there's 2 rules in our house: be kind, be curious. So if you're kind, generally the world looks after you. If you're curious, the world opens up to you. So it's like, be those things. Be respectful, have great manners, and be curious. Like, how did they get there? Ask.
It's funny because personally, sometimes when I'm most comfortable here is when the guest comes in and I've got absolutely no idea about what they're here for. So what I mean by that is, we had a guy earlier this year who spent 3 years in a cult. Came to Australia, got roped into a cult, spent 3 years. Incredible story, but he's not a household name. He's not on TV, he's not on radio. We haven't watched him for years. We didn't know anything about him, but we just kept saying, curious, curious, curious. We've interviewed politicians. We're not big into politics, but we just hit it with curiosity. So we just say, hey, we're not here to push an agenda. We're just going to be curious. We just want to ask questions. And I typically find that, I don't know if you're the same, but that's when I feel almost more comfortable than coming in with somebody that, I want to ask him this, I want to ask him that. It's more just, you sit back, you relax, and let's just learn.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting that you said that.
Well, I think that's to your point earlier, I think, Dos, around the interview. The art of the interview is the listening. You do all your work. But if Kobe says something incredible, like, don't ask the next question you thought you were going to go to. Go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
That might take you for an hour, and 97% of what you prepped never sees the light of day.
Yeah.
That's because this stuff was better. Nick Revolt and I do a post-match show on Thursday nights called Extra Time, which is basically just in the rooms. We have a broad brush stroke rundown. Like, get to the rooms and then say goodnight. And there's these things you've got to hit along the way. But wherever we go, and John Clark, who's a producer, he's a ripper, he trusts us that whatever we throw out, it's because something else is better.
Yeah.
It's like the Sardo Huli, Essendon. I said to him in an ad break, I said, I think this will take the next segment. Trust us, it'll be great. It was great. Caddy came up, it was the same night. Nate Caddy came up and asked Nick Revolt, he said, I need to see it. So I said, we're on air. Nick said, we're on air. I said, mate, you guys talk about that. I'll sort this out. That's much more important, but it's also, that became the most watched.
Of course. It's great TV.
It's great TV. People watching, they're talking about, where do I do this with the body? And so, like, the best stuff, to your point, is the unrehearsed stuff.
100%.
I think it's time we jump into
Speaking of unrehearsed, we're about to debut a brand new segment, which we're very fortunate enough. It's called Shocking Confessions, Dos, isn't it? But,
it is. Shocking Confessions brought to you by Rexel. So Rexel, the leading electrical wholesaler in Australia with over 100 stores.
Yes, with an extensive product offering, the power of trusted brands and competitive pricing, they've grown to 127 branches nationwide, Dos.
Hang on, Rexel, do they sell podcast equipment?
No, they do not.
Televisions?
No, so we're talking about in terms of the biggest brands when it comes to all things electrical, they're the wholesalers. So you go to the store and you want Milwaukee, for example, they're the ones you go through.
Gotcha.
But we're going to talk about the app.
Well, they got a brand new updated app, don't they? It's all rewired.
It is, Dos. So if you do use the app now, you'll enjoy a streamlined homepage, explore products with offline catalogs, scan items directly into your basket using their barcode scanner, and discover a range of innovative time-saving features.
Now, Dee, I know you're a handyman at home.
Absolutely not.
Especially the electrical stuff.
Well, this could be Hamish in the treehouse.
Actually, that's true. Any power tools going on in the treehouse?
There's a lot of power tools, and if Rexel are in the mood, I will test anything for them.
Well, they were very excited when we said you were coming on
Is
the
that
show.
right?
Yeah, they were.
I assume they don't extend to leaf blowers.
Probably not.
Okay.
They would extend, I reckon, to batteries for leaf blowers and things like that. I'd think so.
Rexel,
Yeah.
Rexel.
Yes, we love that. We love that.
That's a good thumbs up. Now, for this segment, we're doing shocking confessions. I'm sure you can get the audience.
where does
to
that fit in
Well, it's shocking. It's very clever from our puns. But we asked you, Haim, to come in with a confession for us. That it could be something funny, it could be something serious, something that happened in childhood, it could be a guilty pleasure, but something you can confess in this shocking confession booth.
Because Rexel is going to be very generous to all of us going forward, I'll give you 3.
Okay. Oh, that's incredible.
So first of all, I forgot your name. Bryce? Don't whisper it. Say it out loud. Bryce. So I said to Bryce, have you any gaffer tape?
That was good.
So I sticky tape down. When I've got collars that are flying about, I sticky tape them down. I get a little bit of gaffer because Thursday nights are no ties now. You know when the collar goes over your suit jacket, you look like you've gone to the prom for the first time, have no idea what you're doing. So I sticky tape collars in place. Analogy. Confession 1. Bryce was a part of it all today. Confession 2. I have a proper problem with sugar to a point where I'm now trying to significantly curb my enthusiasm for smashing through full litres of Sara Lee Ultra Choc in one sitting, or a box of TV snacks. So my wife,
TV snacks.
I haven't eaten TV snacks for 20 years. My wife was with the kids finishing off the school term in winter in Europe, and I was at home for 8 weeks by myself. I ate 7 boxes of TV snacks in one sitting, so 7 individual sittings, but not a TV snack or 6. The whole box.
Oh my goodness.
I got back and my wife said, "You not as fit as you've been in recent time."
What an insult.
So I'm working on things. The last one is this is the one that I thought about when you texted me. So when I was probably, I reckon 5 or 6, I grew up in a town called Mount Pleasant. Everyone knew each other. 250 people in the town, 1 chemist. In the chemist, there was the Matchbox cars in, I don't know whether you remember it, but they had this sort of a stand and there were all these Matchbox cars and you'd choose your Matchbox car. And my mum and dad were very strict. It's like, can I go Matchbox? No, you can't get a Matchbox car. You know, so they just wanted you to respect everything and sort of almost earn everything. And, there's no TV during the week. You could watch sport on the weekends and you could watch the news at night, but no, things have changed so remarkably. But we used to be with mum, when Gillen would be at kindy, would go via the chemist, get things on the way home. I was wearing a pair of overalls as a 5 or 6 year old, and mum was getting whatever she wanted from Mr. Woolard, who was the chemist. I drifted over to the Matchbox car thing, grabbed one and put it in. So I'm then at home a couple of days later, and mum sees me playing with the Matchbox car. She goes, "Where'd you get that?" It's like, found it. She goes, "You stole it." And I can't lie. I said, "I did." She goes, "Let's go." I had to get in the car, drive back and see Mr. Woolard and tell him what I'd done, apologise for stealing and pay him for the Matchbox car.
Wow.
It was one of the great life lessons. I've told my kids that story, but I've never stolen since, and I hope that my kids will never steal. But the theft piece for me is just unacceptable. We got no one knows this either. I got burgled the other day. Everything in my house taken.
Really?
Yeah. I just find the whole thing, if you don't have it, it's not yours.
Yeah.
But Mum, the one thing I learnt from that was, if you've made a mistake, own up to it. Do your time. Acknowledge it. Move on. Tolstrom, Harry Sharp. I got it wrong. So, yeah, there you go. I'm a thief from 43 years ago.
I think I stole a Mars bar, I reckon, when I was about 8. But so maybe if you're going to steal, make it edible so you can't be traced.
You can't go back. Yeah. No, we appreciate that. Thank you so much, Heyman. As we said, for
Rexel.
Rexel.
Thieving is not important.
No. Well, if you really want to, push sponsors, we might bring in now our presents for you, courtesy of our goodie bag partners. The first one, Dos, is the Milkman.
Milkman
Hamish.
Australia.
Now, you love the Milkman, Dos.
I
so
do,
maybe you can
because
talk
I
about them.
love my hair. I mean, I can't grow a beard, but if I could, I'd be using their...
Sammy.
Sammy.
Brought to you by Sam and the team. This is a soap bag, wash
have a
bag.
look.
Open it up, little
Open it up,
toiletry
it's-
bag. And
Hello.
what have we got in there? Oh, you've got the body wash. No, the 3-in-1,
Whiskey
I
and
think
dry,
it is.
boozy body wash.
How
That's
good's that?
fabulous.
Well, has it got a flavour or a certain... Is it
Boozy, I think.
boozier?
Whiskey and dry, boozy body
Boozy and
wash.
dry. There you
I
go.
Three
wasn't
in
sure if
one.
it was the
Excellent.
pina colada, which
yes.
is a favourite of many. And then...
Dry powder for the hair, like it a lot.
That's what I needed this... Okay.
Do you need some now?
No, I literally... No, I ran out of
Natural
my Milkman.
deodorant, perfect for travelling.
We love that.
I won't get stocked in the...
And,
His
you,
Hamish is doing it well, isn't he?
and you've got, of course,
and
got
this,
your, that might be the best part.
This is actually... I'm going to send you a photo from when I'm over at Fremantle, Collingwood next week. That is my new travel bag.
There you go. Well, perfect.
With the products inside. So if you want to get your hands on some Milkman products, because I tell you want them, head to milkmanaustralia.com. Use the code dos&d for 10% off at checkout.
20 DOS.
20%.
20. The Milkman's generous. He's very generous.
Milkmanaustralia.com. Get yours today.
The next one, Haim, is...
The
Mitch.
milkman over the years has been very generous.
Yeah, he's been very generous. These guys are generous too. So we've got
Wow.
Mitch Dowd, and they also own Russell Athletic, Haim. So they've hooked you up. We're talking socks, jocks, even I think there's a hoodie and a tracksuit, boxes, sleepwear. Mitch Dowd have looked after you. And guys, we will say again, now Mitch Dowd, they're very generous as well.
Always.
40% off for dos&d listeners if you want to...
This is genuinely exciting.
Yeah, I mean... It's,
You know, normally you get given a bottle of wine. It's like, thanks.
Yeah.
you got some shot.
I need...
Bit of tidy whities.
Well, they're the comfiest and the
Outstanding.
coolest, Dos. They,
I know.
that's a Mitch Dowd promise.
What's their saying that you love?
Oh, that's a good one. They have a few
Hang on,
sayings.
tracksuit pants and top.
Yeah, they're
I'm not
generous.
sure you've actually nailed the brief here.
Yeah, no, we
don't muck around
Mitch
here.
Dowd have looked after you, and for the dos&d listeners, they will look after you
I
too.
was on a website last night called American something, and Russell Athletic
Yeah.
was a big part of that. Russell Athletic in my life has always been a bit of a, like, it's always in America, everyone wears it.
Yep. These guys have bought them out
They
in Australia.
mentioned, aren't they
Mitch
the
Dowd.
original
Mitch Dowd.
owners of the first people who did the sweatshirt?
They
Isn't
are,
that right?
they are.
The original.
Did
They created the sweatshirt. Russell
Sweatshirt,
Athletic, the very
Russell
first.
Athletic.
They were the
sweatshirt.
grey male, heavy
Yeah.
grey male.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Still awesome.
Yep.
Still awesome. So 40% off
Thank you.
if you use the code dos&d40 at mitchdowd.com.au, guys.
If you
All
mention
the
DOS
boys
and D, like just anywhere, just percentages off.
Well, there's even a little bit more here, but we won't go through the next goodie bag
Maybe
too much.
grab that box off home so we can hold the
Yeah.
goodie bag now. Yeah. You don't have to put your hand in here, but this is just on behalf of Fleet Plant Hire, naming rights partner.
Two edge. There's some golf equipment in there for you. Golf
glove.
Yeah, there's golf gloves. There should be some balls, some tees.
Well played. Thank you.
Some goodies in there
Can I
too.
come back next Thursday and play again?
Mate, we'd love a part two.
You can come back anytime you like, but we do have to say that now we've got a new goodie bag partner that actually are going to help you give back, Haim, to a primary school of your choice. We don't need you to name the primary school in air, but we're lucky enough to have Readiness jump on board. Now, Dos, do you want to talk a little bit about Readiness?
Yeah, so Readiness are changing the game when it comes to mental health support for both workers and students. So think of it like this: every work site has a safety officer. Readiness is like that for your mental health. So they're like the foreman on the work site for your mental health, making sure everyone, whether it's staff or students, has the right tools to perform at their best.
And the Readiness for Schools program, which is where they're generously donating to you, Haim, is the most comprehensive wellbeing curriculum designed to build fundamental mental health literacy for Australian primary school children, and they're rewarding you with a free subscription to Readiness for Schools for a primary school of your choice that you can give us off air. So,
Question: who runs Readiness?
Simon Carney and Jerry Ryan.
So
Neil Danaher.
I've done some stuff with Simon.
There
you
you
go.
go.
He's a ripper. Great
Yeah.
program.
Really good
Yeah.
bloke.
Jerry
Former
Ryan, one of the
guest of
great
the show.
humans of all. Have you had Jerry Ryan on here?
No,
No.
but he's on the list.
We're trying to get him.
No, he should be top of the list.
Yeah.
We're trying to
He's
get Jerry.
unbelievable. Melbourne Cup winner, Storm,
Yeah.
Jayco.
St Kilda.
I went while I was
yeah.
away this year. He said, "You in Nice? Yep. You want to hand the water out to the team on the second last day of the Tour de France?" Like, yes.
Your bike exchange they started.
He's just a superhuman.
So readiness.
If you run out of jocks and you need some more, you can give us Jerry's number and we'll exchange you with some more Mitch Dowds.
Head to readiness.com.au to find out more as well.
Get your score business involved. But outside of that, Hayne, we just wanted, obviously on
Thank you.
behalf of our great
Very generous.
and very generous sponsors, but we wanted to thank you, mate, for giving us the time. We appreciate this. We organised this, I think, when you were still in France, so we really appreciate you keeping your word. It's a big honour for us, as we said. We've admired you for so many years now. We look up to you and just so grateful for your time. So appreciate you joining us today. DDoS,
thank you for having me. Well done on starting the podcast. 5 years, as I said earlier, huge. And I'm about to tap out for Jace Hawkins, so he's going to come into the seat. I'll disappear.
How do we say goodbye in French?
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Au revoir.
Au
I
revoir.
should know that, shouldn't I?
You should.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Au revoir.
mate. Au revoir.
Merci.